On May 30th, 2012, the Structural Engineers Foundation of Washington assembled engineers Dick Chauner, Jack Christensen, Gary Curtis, Victor Gray, Norm Jacobson, Tom Kane, Bob Mast, Fred Newman, and Einar Svensson, and recorded their observations of the creation of the structures defining Seattle as a city of innovation for the Seattle 1962 World's Fair.
Progressive Architecture magazine, and so I just had my new issue of it, and I was looking through it, and here was a picture of some pencil sketches of the Space Needle and John Graham and company, and I thought, oh, that's pretty neat stuff. Got my attention because we had these other tower projects. Well, the next day in the office we got a phone call, so I went in and told John, we had this call from Al Fast, and I went out and closed the door, and I told the guys, we're going to do the Space Needle.
The structural engineers of the World Fair developed cutting-edge design techniques to create innovative and unique buildings and structures. The Seattle Monorail.
Every curved beam was different. It's not like toy train track where you have straight track sections and curved track. At the time, there were a lot of people that said you could not pre-stress a curved beam.
The Washington State Coliseum, now known as Key Arena.
The cable roof, suspended roof, was pretty unique at that time. There were very few structures using cables as the roof suspension system. And there was nothing, very little in the code.
The U.S. Science Pavilion, now the Pacific Science Center.
Pacific Science Center, it happened at a time when the pre-stressing of concrete was a relatively new technique. And in fact, the people that fabricated those components actually built their plant to do that job, as I recall.
The Space Needle.
It's unique because it has this big platform on top. It was like a spaceship up there, and it was really exciting. And I told people, that was the first multi-story building that I ever worked on. It's 5 stories, but the first floor is 500 feet in the air.
The buildings of the World's Fair put the talent and ingenuity of structural engineers in the Pacific Northwest on display, making a significant impact on the community and the profession.
The Space Needle is built of steel, and the Seattle Alveg is built of concrete. Both of them represent very advanced structural engineering technology. I would say the codes, what you call the engineering codes and guidelines, are revised after this.
All those different buildings made a big impression on the community and certainly on me as an engineer.
Advanced structural engineering soon became a dominant characteristic of design of the Pacific Northwest.
I think it really put Seattle on the map in a very good manner. It was not only well organized and well handled, but it was also very, what we would call user-friendly. Kids, adults, parents, you could come to the fair and enjoy it.
Architects think of themselves as the creative people. I think that engineers are creative too.
Well, living in the West Coast, people here are freer to do things than they were in other areas. I think it's probably changing now to a degree, but in a lot of cities in the East that they've got rules and so forth of what you can do, and places you couldn't use pre-stressed concrete.
Well, they certainly allow people to build unique structures here, without having to fight with somebody over it. They're experimental type things.
I'm very glad that I took the route that I did, but I'm glad that I became a structural engineer.
Being a structural engineer, I think, is more fun because of the finished product. The finished product is a great big thing. You can see it. You can kick it, walk around it, and it makes you like a sculptor. You are a sculptor. Sculpture on a grand scale. To actually deal with
stresses and forces on a big scale. That's a lot of fun.